Boom.
Woohoo.
We're
We
live
go.
finally. 9 minutes late, but we're here.
Hey,
So,
everybody.
hey, everybody. Justin had to go find his jacket, so that's why he's 9 minutes late. It's a big apartment.
That's right. I had to go
Did,
grab the jacket.
did you hear that?
I did hear that.
Huh.
Was that on
So,
my end or yours?
I don't know. We'll have to see.
Did you find the dreaded YouTube video?
I did. So, anyways, Justin, I was talking to you on the phone a little while ago, and you were cooking something. You're cooking something in the air fryer? What was going on?
Yeah, so lately my thing is I like air frying chicken thighs because it makes the chicken thighs very nice and crispy.
Hmm.
Kind of like having your own fried chicken at home. Of course, much healthier and carb free. And that's why I do it. I just throw on some seasoning, throw them in the air fryer at 500 for about 20-25 minutes or so, get them nice and crispy, and just pack them away. And they're great, added extra protein. Typically do chicken thighs, but I've also been known to do chicken tenders as well as chicken breast if I feel like going more high protein, a little bit more.
So, the give me a rough idea how long you cook them and what temperature in the air fryer. The thighs.
Yeah, so about 500. I've got the Ninja Foodie grill. And so if you hit the grill option, it kind of starts at like 450 degrees and goes up from there.
Hmm.
Just recommended to have it on high. So it's 500 degrees for about 25 minutes or so. And they come out good. Even from not completely frozen, but if they're halfway frozen, you're still pretty good to go. But I try not to do that.
So, bone in or no bone?
No, boneless.
Boneless. Yeah.
Boneless, yeah. Probably be longer if they had bone in there, or I'd have to
Hmm.
debone them or something.
Right.
And
So,
use the meat thermometer. If you're anxious or you've gotten salmonella, like what kind of loser catches salmonella? It's so lame.
I know who almost gets taken out by a weak bird.
For real.
I mean, if you're gonna get food poisoning, it's probably gonna be from chicken or scallops. I got it from scallops one time when I was a kid. Holy cow!
Mm.
Talk about sick. Undercooked seafood, undercooked chicken. That's the way to do it, right? Hey, it's alien drone services in there.
Mm. Hey, hi, Mr. Alien or Mrs. Alien. Sorry, not trying to misgender you.
So, alien drone services noticed the alarm, the smoke alarm in the background. We should probably get to that. So, what happened when you were air frying today?
Okay, so yeah, I did make the smoke alarm go off. Gotta understand, I'm in a newer place and they have crazy sensitive smoke alarms. For some reason, they always go off. And so the air fryer is supposed to have a vacuum in it to where none of the smoke or anything, like it doesn't even look smoky or anything. And the damn thing it'll just go off. So I don't know if it's picking up on carbon.
Oh, Justin froze. Now he's back.
Oh, there you go. I don't know if it's carbon monoxide it's picking up on or what it is. I'm not dizzy. So there you go. Although I did just glitch out of the system for a second. So maybe it is smoky in here. I don't know.
Maybe.
Um, and yeah, it was going off while I was on the phone with you. Embarrassing. My neighbors probably hit me because like every damn time no, I didn't. But it even went off when I had the oven vent going as well. So the thing's just crazy sensitive. Um, and it is like 22 degrees outside. That's American. And so I'm not opening the windows. It's not happening.
Yeah. So so the smoke alarm goes off and what did you do? You ran in there and
Well, I just hit the button and then I took the battery out
gotcha.
because I'm like, I'm not burning alive. I'm fine. I once looked it up. Smoke alarms actually only increase your a chance of not dying in a fire by 8%.
Oof. Well, that's 8%.
Yeah, but I mean, is it really worth it? That's my question. Like, for it to be effective, you have to be home because ain't no one gonna run to your house because they hear your smoke alarm going off. They're not gonna care, right? So it's completely useless for that. If you're home, well, you can see or smell the fire. Either you did something stupid or you did something stupid. I think the real reason for it, and I really think we could do away. Yes, I am advocating for getting rid of smoke alarms in houses. And here's why. I truly believe that originally it was due to people getting drunk and smoking and like dropping their cigarette, right?
Mm-hmm.
On the carpet or something or on a drape and then starting a fire. Nobody smokes cigarettes in the house anymore. Like 0 people smoke cigarettes in the house, basically.
Well, there's a handful.
A handful, right? But they're typically not drinking and smoking cigarettes in the house.
Well, I know a guy.
You know one.
I know a guy, but he actually lives in a building where it seems like that's where everybody does, and it's like none of them will move because nowhere else will put up with him chain smoking and drinking in their apartments all day. So there's a few holdouts apparently.
So it's extremely rare. Okay, fine. So we let your generation or the generation in between yours and the boomers die off. Then we can get rid of smoke alarms in the house because no one else will smoke and drink in the house and it will no longer. Plus all the stoves like my electric stove is going to catch fire and burn down my apartment. Is that the worry? Is that a thing that's going to happen?
Right. I don't know. I mean, like I was telling you, when I recently had to add carbon monoxide detectors to my house. So that's a thing. We do hear, people get in desperate situations and they bring the barbecue in the house to stay warm or something, or they got a propane heater going in the house because it's cold and I don't know, their power got shut off or something, or heater's broken. I don't know. And you could get things like, your clothes dryer catches on fire and you're not aware of it. I know when I was a kid, something in the oven caught on fire and the fire department came and they were like worried about the fire penetrating the wall behind the oven because it built in. So, I mean, things like that could happen, I guess. So,
Yeah, but wasn't it a gas oven?
it was electric, I think.
Uh,
Yeah. So
Well,
anyway,
yeah, but something inside has to actually catch on fire. Like the oven sitting there on isn't going to burn a hole through the wall. I don't think.
well, not just it's because something greasy inside caught on fire,
Right. And
So,
like you guys were home. Still, I don't see the reason for the smoke alarm in that situation.
well, and here's the thing: everybody's getting these smaller appliances like air fryers and stuff like that, and they have timers on them. So,
Right.
you don't fire it up to 500 degrees and fall asleep on the couch and and wake up to raging inferno because they usually shut off in 20 minutes, 30 minutes, whatever you set it for, which is kind of nice. So now I'm with you. It's kind of maybe used to save more, potentially save more lives. And I think the carbon monoxide thing's probably good because you could have like maybe the chimney on your heater or something starts leaking carbon monoxide into the house or whatever. I don't know, something like that. But anyways, yeah. And in the Midwest in particular, a lot of people, they have heaters in the basement, right? And it's runs on fuel oil or pellets or in the old days coal or wood or whatever. So in those cases there's a little bit more of a chance, if you've got a regular forced air unit in the attic like we have here, probably not going to get a lot of carbon monoxide down in the house, but it could happen, right?
Yeah, I mean, my buddy in Phelan, he's got a wood stove in his house, and that thing's real nice. I don't know where his smoke alarms are at, and it's never gone off. At least not while I was there.
I
But
wonder how many people out there have set off their smoke alarm cooking. Just like everybody probably, right? I know I've done it. Right. So I kind of get your point. It seems like 9 times out of 10, your smoke alarm goes off because you're cooking. And, my neighbor, Smokey, shout out to Smokey Joe on Wheels. He was a professional barbecuer, and he would fire up this massive barbecue smoker. I mean, it's like 15 feet long, you know, and he would burn oak logs in it, right? So he'd start it with basically a giant blowtorch, flamethrower looking thing, and every once in a while the wind was just right that the smoke would travel down the side our houses between our houses, and it would come around behind the back of my house. It'd go in the second story window. It'd follow the eaves up, and it would just, and all of a sudden I'm like, why is it so smoky in here? And next thing you know, the alarm's going off. So, and I was like, hey, Smokey, you gotta move your move your smoker, man. Put a fan on there or something because I'm getting smoked out. But and I mean, who hasn't, like, it's had something you got something boil over or something in the oven, starts dripping fat everywhere and it's flaming up on you, or whatever.
Yeah, cooking duck. So last Christmas, not this past Christmas, but Christmas 2021. Wait, 2020. 2019 to 2022 is just a blur of like a continuous year. Anyway, just making that point. But I did make duck for my first time. And there's one smoky bird. I will say that you end up with smoked duck. It was my first time, so I don't think I did it exactly right. My roommate later that year, or a couple weeks after I did it, made duck as well. And I think where I messed up is that I got busy and the timer went off, and I didn't take it right out of the oven. I left it in the oven, so I think it dried it out. Unfortunately, a bit. It was okay.
Because I mean, duck's so nice and fatty. But that's probably why I was smoking too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Is
that's my meatballs.
Your meatballs are done?
Yeah. We have the noisiest, buzziest soy. Everyone's gonna love us.
So what are you cooking the meatballs in?
But what am I cooking them in?
Yeah.
On a pan with butter, just to grease the pan.
Basically. In the oven or air fryer? What's going on?
In the oven. That's the oven.
Oh, okay. We'll go get them before they start smoking up the place.
Yes, thank you.
So Justin's going to get his meatballs out of the oven before they flame up on him. So, anyways, we were talking about cooking today, and then we decided, why not launch a diatribe about smoke detector, smoke alarms? Because not too long ago, I installed a carbon dioxide detectors on both floors, a 2-story place, and that brings it up to code, right? But I'm essentially just replacing an older smoke detector with a new unit that detects smoke and carbon monoxide. So that's all good until one night when the power went out. So one night at like 2:00 in the morning, power goes out. The whole neighborhood's black for some unknown reason. There's no street lights. Nobody's got power at their houses, nothing. And that set off all of the smoke alarms in my house. So I don't know why I have so many smoke alarms in my house. A lot of people have noticed, like, you got all these smoke alarms in your house. Some of them are like just a couple feet apart. And it's like, why do you need 2 smoke alarms that are 3 feet apart? Does it really help? So, but anyways, I got all these smoke alarms in my house because of all the building codes, and they're from different generations, so they're not talking to each other nicely when the power goes out. So I've got the newer models are like danger, fire, 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 danger, fire, wake up, danger, fire. And then I got the other ones that are like, and you wake up at 2:00 in the morning, it's pitch black, stumbling around. I went for my flashlight, knocked it on the ground. It's rolling around. I can't find it. Stumbling around, walking into other people in pitch blackness with just unbelievable amount of noise. And so I had to go out in the garage and bring in an extension ladder, because some of these alarms are up on a vaulted ceiling. They've got to be something like 18 feet in the air. pushing 20 feet in the air or something like that. I think there's about 17, 18 feet in the air. So someone around in the dark trying to unplug these things or reset them. Some of them you hit the button, they go quiet. Other ones just kept on going because I think they're just activating one another, because they're wired to the house, plus they have a battery. So some of them had to take them down, take the battery out, and then they would stop. But sometimes they don't even stop, or they just start chirping. So yeah, the whole smoke alarm thing could be a real pain in the butt. So yeah, I was telling Justin too in my where I lived before. One night, one of them started chirping like you hear in the background. By the way, that's not a real smoke alarm. I'm playing a video on YouTube with a smoke alarm chirping. So,
what kind of demon makes that? Like, why? Why would you make that? I guess for us to use it in this video, but how many views does it have? How many subscribers does the person that made the smoke alarm video have? I'm legitimately curious.
It's had 81,000 views.
Wow,
It's had 716 likes. And that it's by somebody called Ambiance, and who has 36,000 subscribers for some reason. So there you go. The kind of videos you never think would make money. And yeah, alien drone service. I think you're right. If you really wanted to wake people up, you should record their mother's voice screaming at them.
Well, the smoke alarm should just say free bags of weed, and then everyone will just come.
Is that how it would work?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know if that would arouse me or not.
Free beef jerky, free ribeye steaks.
Speaking of jerky, look at, I brought snacks.
Oh, nice! You did bring snacks.
Here, you want some?
Sure. Just fly right over. Thank you.
So yeah, at my old house, one of the smoke alarms started chirping, and I noticed when it gets colder, that's when they chirp. I think the batteries get cold. They don't put out as much power. So again, I had to get up in the middle of the night, find a ladder, climb up on the ladder. I didn't have a battery handy, so took the old smoke alarm down, took the battery out, wouldn't stop chirping. Put it in the garage, went back to bed. Could still hear it chirping. So I got up, I put it in an ice chest in the garage. I could still hear it chirping when I went back to bed. So then I grabbed a thick jacket, wrapped the smoke alarm in a thick jacket, put it back in the ice chest, went back upstairs. I could still hear the damn thing chirping. Went downstairs again, grabbed the ice chest, took it outside, put it in a car, and then finally went back to sleep. So smoke alarms might be a menace.
Yeah, they are. I'm telling you, they do more harm than good. I bet if you took the psychological damage of smoke alarms versus actual life saved, my point would be, I'm going to run for Congress, and one of my first bills are going to be the deregulation smoke alarm bill. Like, you're not going to be regulated to have them. If you want to have them, that's fine. Renters insurance or whatever. If insurance companies want to require it, that's fine, but no more government intervention in this whole smoke alarm racket. There you go. That's right. My stance. That's what I'm running on. So there you go. Be a lot of fun. So maybe at some point we should talk about the actual topic we came here today, which is what is it? Powering up the bonfire. How'd you put?
Feeding the bonfire, stoking the bonfire.
Yeah, but we're next level with it now, or at least I am. You've kind of had a bit of a falling back, but yeah, not your fault.
So let's describe it for the folks real good. Tell them how you're doing it, and I'll tell them how I'm doing it.
Hey, Joe, good to see you. Thanks for joining us. Hey, good to see you.
Joe's gonna come on next weekend.
Yeah, there we go. Be a lot of fun. So the way I'm doing it, so those that don't know, haven't seen the previous video, feeding the bonfire, inspired by our interview with John Anderson, famous bodybuilder, power lifter, wrestler, all around shenanigans kind of guy. And, you know, he kind of has this opposite approach, you know, and a lot of people in our community, the carnivore, keto space, food health space, conscious eating space, what have you. A lot of people talk about fasting. You got to fast, eating windows, you know, making sure you're getting you're not eating too much, and that you're, you know, again, focused on the fasting, you know, whether it's doing a 16-8, 24-hour, 48, 72 and beyond fast. And it seems to be like encouraged, like being eating phobic or afraid of food and things like that, even though right when they tell you that, they'll turn around and say, oh, beef meat is the most nutritious bioavailable food that there is. But for some reason, don't eat too much of it and bad things will happen. And so John was just like, you know, I eat 9 times a day. You know, now they're smaller meals, they're snacks, they're raw eggs, egg whites, some ground turkey, some ground beef, things like that. It's not like he's doing 13-ounce steaks 9 times a day. So I get that. And I think doing 13-ounce steaks 9 times a day would probably be difficult for nearly anyone to keep that up. But so yeah, so what I've been doing lately is cracking 3 eggs after doing a workout, cracking 3 eggs and having them raw, chucking those down. And then sometimes an hour later, hour and a half later, 2 hours, I might have 8 ounces of ground turkey, maybe some ground beef. And then a few hours after that, I'll have my official lunch, which is typically my biggest meal of the day. And we're talking anywhere between 13, 15 ounces of ground beef, turkey, something like that, maybe some pork ribs, a nice big meal like that with maybe 4 ounces of chicken breast. And then in a couple more hours, I might have either some more turkey meatballs, the ground beef meatballs, or I've been really having fun with, hey, there's my eggs, my raw eggs and water. There you go. All the vitamins you need for the day. And I, yeah, so, and then I've been having this charcuterie board left over from the holidays, which has like pepperoni and different meats wrapped in mozzarella. So I'll snack on a few of those too as well. And then I'll have dinner, which again, 10, 12 ounces of some kind of meat, pork, maybe some a cut of steak of some kind. And I've been really enjoying it. You know, I really like not having to stick to an eating window necessarily. You know, trying to watch the clock, you know, oh, bummer, I didn't eat until 9, so I can't eat until 1 or 2 or something like that. It's just really nice to be able to eat when I'm hungry. Today, I went a bit longer before breakfast just because I wasn't really hungry. And on the weekends, I do change it up a little bit just because I prefer to cook the eggs on the weekend. It's a little nicer. So I had steak and eggs for breakfast today. It was like 15 ounces of steak and something like 6 eggs, something like that. And I had that for breakfast. And then it was like 3 hours later, I had, I think I had like it was 9 ounces of turkey meatballs. And then I'm actually hungry now. And yeah, so I'm probably going to I'm going to finish what I have. So I'm going to have some old meatballs, not the ones I just took out of the oven, but some older meatballs with some turkey dipped in Parmesan butter.
So do you age your meatballs?
I guess they're aged. They're aged a few days. Yeah.
Yeah. So what have you noticed so far with this frequent eating?
Yeah. I gained about a pound and a half of muscle, you know, which is really cool. Now I started X3 at the same time. So roughly, so that's what I do for the workout, but I've gained a pound and a half of muscle. In the beginning, I was worried because I was weighing myself, and every week I was gaining like a half pound, you know, and like a percentage of fat, like a half a percentage. So like a pound of weight and a half percentage of fat, according to my appy scaly thing, my scale that, you know, has all those measurements. Again, accuracy can be another conversation. But today I was pretty happy because I weighed and it seems that there was absolutely no change in my weight. So I think I've gained as much as I'm going to gain eating this way. Maybe, provided I keep my activity roughly the same. So what in theory, I think what should happen is I should be able to maintain the muscle and start losing the fat.
All right. So yeah, so the way I've been doing it is, and I've noticed that I do get hungrier in the morning. You know, like a lot of people, breakfast isn't necessarily appealing most of the time. Sometimes I wake up hungry and sometimes not. But a lot of times, like I'll start my day by drinking some egg whites. Um, on one hand, I do it a lot. The probably the biggest reason I should say that why I drink the egg whites is convenience. So you can buy the pasteurized egg whites at the store. If you go to a big box store like Sam's or Costco, they sell them by the case and they're pretty reasonable. And they do not have any flavor. They're when you buy them that way in the container, they're very thin. They're not like the egg white coming straight out of the shell. They've been pasteurized and filtered or something, so they're very, very thin liquid, not quite as thin as water, but they have absolutely no flavor, which is probably not appealing to a lot of people. So, but you can mix them with stuff, just like Justin adds a little water to his raw whole eggs. I will add sometimes coffee. I'll just mix the egg whites with the coffee or seltzer water. I had some tonic water laying around, poured that in. It tasted really good. So, but it's a good way to get your protein in. You know, like I like weightlifting. You know, I lift it pretty much every day. Um, and I do better high protein and, you know, not a ton of fat. You know, that's another thing. Seems like most people, when they start carnivore, they do better on a higher fat diet. And a lot of people are really, you know, they just eat ribeye, which, you know, they're getting most of their calories from the fat. I'd seem to do better on leaner cuts. So, you know, when I'm eating steak, I typically eat something more like a New York strip or sirloin or something like that. And the egg whites are basically just pure protein. So it helps get the protein in. It's very light. And then I also have been eating the hard boiled eggs. Again, I typically buy them cooked and peeled for the convenience, saving time. You know, I probably should do a video just on meal prep. Don't have a lot of free time, so I'm not home to cook much during the week. So I'm really into the convenience of things like egg whites and hard boiled eggs. You know, I cook several steaks at one time and pack them in glass containers to take with me or to have on hand. And I think that's an important thing for anybody getting started is getting in the habit of having the food available, right? And then so instead of eating like a whole pound of steak at a time, I'm more likely to eat like half a pound at a time and sort of break that into smaller meals. And I never really enjoyed the trying to do OMAD or even 2MAD. It was just too much food at one time. And so, you know, some days, you know, if we look at calories, the assumed calories that it would which is our analog for how much energy the human body uses, you know, could be at least 3,600 calories for me and can go all the way up to 6,000 calories. And trying to eat that much in one sitting or two sittings, it was never doable for me. So I was a lot more comfortable with the idea of smaller meals. So that was a big reason why I wanted to try this experiment and twisted Justin's arm to do it with me. So we have two examples. I'm 51. He's 32.
Too, yeah.
Yeah. He's 140 pounds. I'm closer to 300 pounds. I do a lot of heavy lifting. He does a lot of like X3 bar. You want to tell people what X3 bar is real quick before, in case they don't know?
Yeah, so the X3 bar, it was invented by Dr. Josh Jacquish. There's a
Yeah, I think
Q
it's
in there, so
Jakish.
Jakish.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's a carnivore, actually, or meat based diet. I heard about it when I think he did an interview with Sean Baker on Meat RX, which is now Rivero Health, for those that don't know. And it's just a bar, and it also has a base plate, so just like a metal plate, but it comes with resistance bands. And what's really cool about it is that you can do all the compound movements with the bar plate and resistance bands. So you can do deadlifts, you can do squats, uh, you can do what's the other one? Crap, just forgot it. Anyway, but there's
You
other
can
exercises.
you
So
can do
there's
like a bench press type maneuver, right?
yeah, there's a chest press. Yeah, there's a bed chest press. There's a skull crusher maneuver. There's a bent rows that you can do, and what's really cool is it's super convenient because once you get it down, so you do each exercise for only one set, and you go till failure, but you do in ideally between 15 and 40 reps at a time. And the bands are tough. I'm on the second band for most exercises. There's still one exercise, the bent row, that I'm on like the smallest band, and I can barely do like 26 of even on the smallest band. So there's plenty of that. And I like it because I am really busy. Like Tom, I really don't have a lot of time since moving. Um, getting to there's a gym down here and stuff like that. I also have some injuries, and it's really easy on the joints and things like that. I've been in some car accidents, I've done some damage and things like that. And so it's really nice way to do that without aggravating anything. I'm getting results without a doubt. On my Instagram, you see me doing some of the pull exercises, and got to say my biceps and my arms are looking pretty meaty. You know.
Yeah, so
Um,
the X3 bar is like a compact kit, right? It doesn't
yeah.
take up a lot of space. You could travel with it if you wanted to, and it uses resistance bands in place of weights, which is it's cool because there's some advantages to the progressive loading of a band, right? Because the farther you stretch it, the more resistance there are. And Joe just commented that he ate 1.83 pounds of steak at one time. So yeah,
Nice.
which I could do that. I could get that much in, but I never really enjoyed it. So yeah, and I do more as opposed to doing the X3 bar. I do more of the typical sort of classic lifting at the gym. Like yesterday was squats and leg presses. Another day before that I did biceps and stuff like that. So I do mostly free weights. I do some work on the machines just because you know you, they're a nice adjunct to the free weights. But yeah, so we thought it'd be an interesting experiment. See what happened if we kind of bucked the trend, and instead of doing a lot of fasting and OMAD and stuff like that, if we ate frequently, keeping your metabolism up. If you eat frequently, your metabolism tends to stay higher. We both noticed that it seemed too easy to undereat, right? So,
Mm.
and we talked to quite a few people who seem to be undereating. It seemed obvious, and particularly when you're eating a lot of fat, you're satisfied, but you may not be getting enough calories, and you may not be getting enough nutrients, and chief among them is probably protein, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Yep.
Possible, although not me doing OMAD, although possible, and although not having any issue with feeling over full or anything like that. Um, it just still isn't particularly comfortable. And I remember when I was doing two mad and sticking to that religiously, I at night I always kind of had this weird feeling where it was like I feel like I could eat, but I also feel like I couldn't eat. And it's like I feel like if I eat, it's gonna mess with my sleep. And but if I don't eat, then I gotta go. You know, and it was like really kind of messing with me. But what's interesting, so with this, I expected, oh man, if I eat too late, I'm boned and I'm gonna have trouble sleeping.
Mm-hmm.
That hasn't been my experience even from the beginning. And I thought, oh man, I'm gonna have to force myself to eat in the morning. But now my metabolism's like, I want to eat in the morning. You know, I'm eating typically before. Well, I have the raw eggs on my typical day before 9, you know, in the morning. And then today I think I had breakfast 10:30. I think it was actually 11. It's because I did a few things. So I can stretch it out if I need to. I like having the flexibility though of like if I want to go eat right away, I can. If I need to stretch it out because I'm trying to get some other stuff done or watch something before I want to get in the kitchen and cook, you know, I can do that as well. So it's
Right.
really nice to have that flexibility, I'll have to say. Um, and you know, not having to watch the clock and everything, eating when hungry. You know, so typically, so I went out for a walk later on this afternoon. Towards the end of the walk, I started to get hungry. Now, before doing this experiment, I would just let myself be hungry. Like I would have forced myself to not eat then, and I'd still be hungry right now. You know, and I'd probably be almost near starving, I guess, since I'm already hungry. But who knows what my metabolism would be like, right?
Right.
And then we'd get done with this, and I'd have anxiety because it's probably going to be about 8 or 9 o'clock by the time we're done with this, and I'm going to be like, well, I ate at 11. It's now 9. Do I rush something real quick and risk, having heartburn or some kind of issue while I sleep, or do I just say F it and not and go to bed and wake up and not eat until I typically eat at 1 for lunch, just because of my work. And and so that was giving me a lot of anxiety. And
Mm-hmm.
now it's like, okay, I ate after the walk, I ate in the morning, and I'm going to eat after we're done here. And it's just easy, and I'm giving my permission, and my body's used to that now,
Right.
which is really nice.
Yeah, it's similar issues because, um, you know, I tend to eat pretty good before I leave for work in the morning, and if I feel like I need a little more, because I could easily spend an hour, hour and a half commuting each way. So imagine being in the car, 2 to 3 hours a day, and on a really bad day, it might be 4 hours, right? So that was an issue for me because I go to the office and then somewhere in there I'm going to have lunch, but um, instead of trying to, eat 2,000 calories worth of steak at one time, I'll break that up, and eat smaller meals. And then I typically work out after I go to the office. So I'm working out at night, and when I get towards the end of the day, the work day, I tend to get hungry, and it's like I don't really want to go to the gym on an empty stomach. I don't think I do as well if I'm lifting and not eating some before and after. I tend to make more progress. And like we said, it's smaller meals. And if I went all the way from work to the gym, worked out, and then came home and went to bed, I'd be hungry, really hungry. But when you're eating smaller meals, and it's like it could be just a couple hard boiled eggs is all you need, right? And a lot of people probably look at that as categorize that more as a snack than a meal. But for us, it seems to be a very functional way to get the food in and be comfortable and not stuffing yourself. I'm always kind of surprised with how comfortable people are with stuffing themselves, right? And I know plenty of people who aren't even carnivores that tell me, "Oh yeah, man, I eat a big dinner and then we have dessert and then I go to bed and my stomach hurts and I'm uncomfortable and I can't sleep and I get it. And it's like when you're putting the food in sort of just I think John described it as a conveyor belt.
Mhm.
You you sort of are building up your metabolism, getting your metabolism going, and you don't have the digestion issues and everything like that, and stomach expansion and all that stuff is very, very mild. I mean, you don't even really notice it when you're eating smaller meals, right? So, you go carnivore and you get rid of all the other digestive issues, the heartburn, the gas, bloating, blah, 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 blah. And then, I don't know, do you really need to turn around and stuff yourself? you know, is OMAD really a way of life? I mean, I get it. It's like some people, it's a shortcut to getting a six pack abs or something like that, and it, as a tool, it works. But I don't really know that it's meant to be a way of life. I have a hard time imagining. See, I always think about human development and our evolution taking place in that period of time before the megafauna were extinct, which was, say, somewhere between 12 and 14,000 years ago. And I'm sure they didn't just all go at once. They pockets of them survived for quite a while, and some of them are still here because elephants really are the same as mammoths and mastodons and stuff. They come from they're the same type of animal, and that's primarily what we ate. There's abundant evidence that we followed around these giant animals and just ate them, and then when they went away, we had to adapt to smaller animals, and then probably like in the neighborhood of 4 or 5 thousand years after they mostly disappear, then we start planting crops, right? We start harvesting wheat and corn and stuff like that. And then that slowly spreads out. That was probably roughly 8,000 years ago. So I imagine us, eating these large animals, and you take one down, and you have a
Pass it
food,
around.
yeah, you have a food supply for your whole family or your tribe for quite a while. It's a lot of meat on an animal like that. But so why would you do OMAD, right? I mean, people come up with these ideas like, well, this is how warriors ate, or whatever. I don't know. I mean, if you had food handy and you weren't doing something else, because I mean, in those times, basically everything was about eating, having water, reproducing, staying out of the elements, not getting eaten by other hominids or other animals, right? So why wouldn't you eat whenever you feel hungry? Why would you pack in a bunch of food? And of course, we are adapted to go quite a while without eating. That's why we have body fat. But I think for the majority of our evolution, going all the way back, it's hard to tell just how old hominids are, but we've been butchering animals for at least 3.6 million years. So somewhere between, say, 12,000 years ago and 3.6 million years ago, why would we go hungry, right? There's an abundant food source all over the place. So, there's going to be pockets of famine and stuff that happen for climatic reasons or whatever. But, why would we go hungry? Why would we just eat once a day? Why would we just eat when we're hungry? Because 9 times out of 10, there's going to be a giant animal that we just harvested, you know?
Yeah, and I think it just dawned on me the modern world kind of proves out this concept. When there is abundance of food or nutrients, whatever, calories, um, or as I like to call them, food estimated nutrition units, energy units. Um, and the what do we do? We kind of have our gluttonous, right? And I get a part of that's the addictive and the additives and all that kind of stuff, but probably a nice chunk of that is also just seafood, eat it, and that's probably our basic operating, and um, good signs of reproductive health was someone, and I don't want to use the word chunky, but muscular. We know that, right, when women, especially fast, or when they get too skinny, they lose reproductive viability. And so
Yeah. And I would
having
imagine that's probably true of men as well. It's like
right.
if they get too lean or they don't have enough muscle mass, and they're probably, nature probably selectively sort of reduces their input to reproduction, right?
Yeah, I would imagine so, as well. And so, we're supposed to have some cushion for the pushing, a bit, for
Oh,
uh,
you
for us
froze
to
again.
be. Oh, sorry about that.
You're
I don't know
back.
why. Okay, uh, for us to be healthy for reproduction, and so yeah, I don't see any reason. The lion's share, right, of the food was probably the top hunters, family or something like that. I don't know.
Well, and I kind of think it's like when you take down an animal that big, how many people do you have with you? Most people are in small tribes or large family groups, and that's a lot of meat, And if you need two of them, you kill two of them, right? Because those animals travel around in herds. So all you got to do is, get a couple of them to fall in a pit or sneak up behind them and cut the tendons on the back of their legs, and you've got plenty of food. So I think, before that time, before 12, 14,000 years ago, food scarcity probably wasn't that big of a deal.
Yeah, and so I would imagine we would eat when hungry, and there was no preservation. I mean, there was very primitive preservation techniques, but there wasn't the freezer. The natural freezer was the elements,
Yeah,
and
well,
so
I'm pretty sure they knew that and a lot of this is still done. You dry out the meat, and then you can eat it later. And then the bone marrow and stuff like that in the bone stays fresh for a long time, as long as you don't crack open the bone. Once you crack open the bone, then it starts to get exposed to the air and it'll break down. So I would imagine there's just such an abundance of food. I mean, if you're along the coastline, we know we ate, all the bivalves and stuff, the oysters and clams and mussels and stuff like that. But we also ate all those sea creatures, like you probably get rid out of town on a rail if you killed a seal or something now. But, we ate those. We ate seals and walrus and sea lions. And, if you look at the archaeology and you find out that like the maritime archaic people, they apparently were traveling all over the place, just hopping from coastline to coastline. And they had very advanced fishing gear, hooks and harpoons and stuff way back before anybody realized they were deep sea fishermen. They were pulling up cod and stuff from, 1,000 meters or something insane like that, which is really deep. And they were out getting swordfish and stuff like that, which is a really challenging event. But they were doing it, and they were eating all the sea creatures along the coast as well, like the walrus and the seals and stuff. So, I have a hard time imagining that there was a lot of scarcity. I mean, sure, and you know, if you eat mostly caribou and the herd disappears for some reason, they take off, you got to go run them down. But for that was your full-time job, right?
yeah, and typically was to say it was like a 4-hour work week or something like that. You worked way
Yeah,
less than for your food and shelter
they
than,
had a
you do
lot more
now.
free time.
Yeah.
Yeah, back then. So yeah, so that's kind of, that's my thinking too. Maybe it is more natural just to eat whenever you feel hungry, you eat a little something, you know, and maybe the larger meals. I mean, when I got into keto and then carnivore, there's a lot of discussion about how people ate in the 70s and how different it was from now. But you think about it, people there that describe it as people eating three meals, rarely eating snacks because of the snack food just wasn't abundant like it is today. Um, but that feeding schedule of eating three times a day really is a product of like the industrial revolution and modern times where people work.
Have to sell that cereal, the soup
Yeah,
salad in the
yeah.
morning.
So, prior to that, you probably just ate whenever you were hungry. I mean, because most people work for themselves, right? They didn't have a boss, they're doing whatever they do. Uh, and why would you eat three times a day if you're hungry four times a day or five times a day, right? So
Yeah, and so the other side of the fasting or not eating, it being such big is, all the talk of autophagy, regenerative, and makes you younger, drops your blood sugar, makes you more insulin sensitive, etc., which is all true, but it seems to be that there's nearly no extra benefit from that you can't get from working out. At least when me and Tom look at it. So you get autophagy when you work out, you get breakdown, you get the hormonal changes, you get drops you get increased insulin sensitivity, but drops in insulin spike if you eat and then get active and work out, or even take a 10-minute walk or something like that. And so it really doesn't take a lot of movement to stimulate these things. And anyone that's ever watched me now or ever knows that I cannot sit still. And so that's all thermogenesis. That's me burning some extra calories, whether or not the Fitbit tracks that or not, because I know it doesn't. I'm up, my body's doing things. My body is active. And yeah, all of that, moving things around, lymph nodes, all that's good for immune health. And we're kind of built to kind of move and squirm a little bit, especially if you're a male. I think it is a little different for females. And so not eating and moving, I think that's, now I'm going to say hard on the body, but I don't think it's particularly, I'm not going to say it's going to be particularly dangerous. Although
I think it's, let me just step on that a little bit, because it's like, if you're under eating all the time, then your body's just going to want to expend less energy, right?
You're going to hit that at some point.
Yeah.
And I get that, many people now, the thing is feasting and fasting, and I understand that. And I think, again, it's great technique and a great tool. It's just, I always try to come back to where you're coming from, where you are now, and where you're trying to go. Right. And so I get it. If you aren't used to exercising and you're not moving around a lot, and maybe you are 350, 400 pounds, maybe eating and fasting might be the tool for you at that time. If you're leaner, maybe you can get your goals without having to fast, because maybe your body's used to being in a low metabolism state for whatever reason, low energy state. And I think that can also come from, so eating poorly is almost as bad as fasting, right? Especially if you're a more plant-based, vegetarian, vegan, because you're feeding your body. Typically, vegans don't track their calories. They don't track their macros. To get 2,000 calories of spinach, and lentils and beans, that's a lot of food you're chucking down. Then you're doing 8 or 9 meals a day because you have to, or huge salads and things like that. I get there's dressings, and maybe you got some olive oil, so there's some fat in there and things like that. And so, but you're just, in a sense, adding toxins and irritants to the body, and not a lot of nutrition, and possibly in a calorie deficit as well, for what it's worth. Sorry, Bart, don't add us too much. And I think that's why people just really drop down and really go downhill with that. And so if you're coming from that and then moving to carnivore, I think it's important to stay away from fasting, in my opinion, because we want to get our vitamin and nutrient reserves up, to a base level before we embark on, decreasing things. And so it's just levers, like you talk about, Tom, and I understand that. And, but personally, I think it's more appealing, at least to me, and easier to eat when hungry. Now people claim that they can overeat on meat. To me, although theoretically possible, I find it very difficult to keep up 3-4 pounds of meat a day, every day for 6 months. When you time it out, at some point, you're going to feel kind of full, or relatively full, you know, I think. And, overeating meat to me just means your body just wants nutrition. If you're hungry and you want it and it's tasting good, it's probably means your body needs it. That's just kind of my opinion on it. But yeah, it just depends on the stage of where you're at and what you're trying to do, the goals and getting there.
Yeah. Well, and this approach that we're taking of eating smaller meals more frequently is not new. A lot of people
Right.
did this before us. So I just thought it was worth giving it a shot for all the reasons we stated, because other things have kind of taken over the excitement of, fasting and omadding and rolling 48s and feasting for however long, and then fasting for months on end, you know. So, because I mean, I look at it like in the time before modern time, we still had to move stuff around all the time. I mean, there's no strollers, so if you got little kids, you got to pick them up and carry them, right? And then there's not even a wheelbarrow for collecting wood. You've got to just got to pick that wood up and carry it to back to your wherever you live. And same thing with water. So we probably spend a lot of our time picking stuff up and moving around. And in modern times, we don't do that. That's why we have gyms. For people drive, you would commute to work, drive a desk. We need something to do. And I think what it is so many people are, average nutrition has gotten so poor. Um, People are over oftentimes have too much. They consume too much energy in their food and not enough nutrients, and they don't feel like doing anything, right? And that's one of the things we notice about a lot of people. They go carnivore, and then all of a sudden they're more active, and it's like, oh, I want to do stuff now, right? So I think uh, I think that too much fasting and the OMAD and 2MAD and all that. I think that's also a problem for some people, because I don't think they can get enough food in. I think it works fine for some people, and it just doesn't work for others. So, and I mean, I look at it like, if I don't enjoy eating, I mean, I have to eat, like, even to do 2MAD, I have to eat, a couple pounds of steak a couple times a day. And generally, I just don't find that appealing. So, I think there's a lot of people out there that are trying to do OMAD or 2MAD or whatever, and then they're just under eating too much.
And if you're not tracking, which I know tracking, there's a side of in this space that's anti-tracking, and there's a side that's all into it, biohacking, blood tests every 3 months, 6 months, and things like that. I fall in the middle. Um, I think when you're trying to pin down a goal and when you're trying to get somewhere, I think tracking can be helpful, especially if you've gone a while without tracking. And yeah, me and Tom have learned, oh man, under eating like 100%, probably daily for months on end, just because of sticking to some silly rule that gets stuck in your head, you know.
Yeah, that's a good thing. It's like, if you're not getting to your goals, then it's time to start tracking, right? See what you're actually doing. You get a device that get some idea how much energy you're outputting, whether it's Apple Watch, Fitbit. There's tons of them out there. There's lots of people that make them. Get some idea how much energy you're putting out, and then start logging and seeing how much energy you're putting in, and then get some idea. And it's probably best just to do it by trial and error. Find out how much protein you need. You can get some ideas. A lot of the recommendations out there are probably really low. We've done a video or two on this. And then there's some, if you're a freaking CrossFitter or something, your demand is probably quite a bit higher, right? Along with all that fuel you're going to need for all those crazy events you're going to do, you're going to need quite a bit of protein to rebuild all the tissues, right? So I think and sometimes it builds on itself, right? Because you get in, change your diet, you feel better, you're more active, and then I think we're almost programmed to undereat, right? Because they're always recommending some, they say, oh, that typical person needs 1,500 calories a day or something. But I don't think that's near enough for me or you, right, Justin?
Well, I mean, according to my Fitbit, I think I'm at like 2,200 a
Yeah, so
day.
15 is nothing, right? Even
Right.
2,000 is short for you.
Yeah.
Right, I know it's short for me. So people have it in their heads, and then there's all these tricks. Well, drink a bunch of water so your fills up your stomach so you don't feel hungry. Eat a bunch of fiber, or whatever it is. Eat a bunch of empty calories, or a bunch of empty food that barely has any calories in it, so you feel full, right? And that's what we're programmed to do. And then they turn around.
Eat your cucumber. I think it's cucumber and celery that have negative calories, like -2
Probably,
or -3 or something like that.
yeah,
Lettuce. I think lettuce is a solid 0 because it's basically just fiber and
water,
water.
water,
Yeah.
fiber, yeah, and occasionally E. coli,
Right.
So yeah, that's a good way to lose weight, probably some E. coli poisoning. Did you lose any weight when you had salmonella?
I did. I lost like 8 pounds. I finally gained it back.
Mm.
I've actually gained about a pound above where I was before salmonella.
Yeah, so that was kind of my monkey wrench. It's right around Christmas. I think leading up to Christmas, I was getting sick with something, and I was testing negative for the modern pestilence. But then I got a sore throat, and I knew somebody else had a sore throat, so I'm pretty sure I know where that came from. And then eventually I tested positive for COVID too. So, oops, I said the C word. Sorry. I meant to say
Pestilence.
modern pestilence. So yeah, and that really took a bite out of my appetite. Like my metabolism dropped. I couldn't go to the gym, you know, couldn't really do anything because I had to quarantine, So, and I didn't feel good. So still don't feel like my old self, but I'm, I've got back into the gym and lifting again, working out. So, and having a relatively normal life right now, but it's really building up to that. We were practicing this, right? So we knew what we were going to do. We were figuring out what kind of information we were going to record. And because we're not counting calories or looking at macros because we want to restrict anything. We're just curious that if we eat according to our natural inclination, what does that look like in the data stream, right?
Yeah, exactly. What are we at natural? And then, there might be other stages to this. But yeah, for right now, it's just if we're eating when we're hungry, so-called snacking, what do the numbers add up to? What does our body composition lead up to? All that, So
Yeah, I
try to get
took
some good results.
over a week off from the gym because I was sick. I think I stayed out of the gym for close to 10 days, which is a lot of days off. Cause I know just at one location I went to, they had posted the most active people at the gym, and I was in the top 10 for sure. I was like number 6. And I had worked out last year at that one location 250 times. So taking 10 days off was driving me crazy, but I had to quarantine. And then when I got back to the gym, I noticed like everything I did made me sore for a week. But fortunately that after a week that went away. But like, yeah, so it was a little bit of setback, but I didn't really lose any strength, I don't think. So that was a good thing. That's the thing. You want to have a surplus of strength in particular, and for when things like this come up. I mean, you've been in a couple of car accidents, so you know what it's like to be out of commission for a while, right?
Yeah, without a doubt. It's good to have a little bit of extra just in case something happens. We can always get sick, possible car accident, unfortunately, knock on wood, or whatever event. I mean, hell, we even know someone that's had a plane crash or two, and he's still up, rocking it, moving around, and all that stuff. So that's good.
Well, we hope other people take an interest in feeding the bonfire and the frequent eating experiment. We hope you guys are interested in the information. And if what you're doing for you isn't working or you're not meeting your goals, maybe you want to consider it. We thank for the people. Thank you to everybody who watched this. Leave us your comments. Maybe you got something to say about smoke alarms or how big Justin's teeth are when he yawns. I don't know. Maybe whatever. Or maybe you can hear my dog snoring in the background. Now,
You can
but
see
yeah,
her.
let's let us know how much you're eating, how frequently you eat, and of course, we're always down to hear your carnivore triumph stories. And maybe if you're having a struggle or something, maybe you want to let us know. Maybe we can help you. Maybe we can't, but somebody out there will have some way to help you. So, anyways, thanks everybody for watching, and maybe send the link out to for this video to other people. Have them enjoy. Subscribe to the channel. It really helps. Leave us comments. That really helps. And until next time, eat some meat.
Feel better.
And whatever
you do, don't fall down the fasting hole.